Bueno, arratsaldeon, muy buenas tardes. Vamos a comenzar, si os parece. Bien, en primer lugar, una pequeña introducción. Como es la primera sesión de esta serie, sabéis a dónde venís. Entonces, esta es un ciclo que se llama JAKIN MINA, que está organizado por Jakiunde, que es la Academia Vasca de Ciencias, Artes y Letras. Y este ciclo lleva ya muchos años funcionando, tengo que decir que funcionando muy bien gracias principalmente a la actitud de todos los estudiantes que venís a él. Año tras año siempre ponemos en valor el interés que mostráis por todos los temas que aquí se os presentan. Y también lo bien que os portáis. Hay que reconocer que es un viernes por la tarde, podríais estar en cualquier otro sitio y, sin embargo, pues venís aquí a acompañarnos y a adquirir pues, conocimiento, en definitiva. Porque esta es la misión de este ciclo, transmitiros a través de expertos, muy expertos en las materias que se os van a presentar, pues transmitiros un cierto conocimiento sobre aspectos variados. Tenemos la suerte de poder organizar este ciclo gracias a la ayuda del Gobierno de Navarra, gracias a la ayuda también de este CIVICAN que nos acoge en este lugar maravilloso, que además es un lugar precisamente de divulgación, conocimiento y, por tanto, pues no podíamos encontrar lugar mejor para hacerlo. Como os decía, siempre intentamos escoger, seleccionar a expertos de las materias que vayan a hablar. Y también con el ánimo de que, además del tema en sí y de ese conocimiento que os queremos transmitir, también para que conozcáis los perfiles de las personas que os hablan, que muchos de ellos son investigadores, profesores de universidad o profesionales de prestigio que están desarrollando o han desarrollado su carrera profesional, académica, investigadora, pues en torno a esos temas, y para que veáis también pues cómo el conocimiento no se adquiere de la noche a la mañana, ¿no? y que todas estas personas pues son personas que se han dedicado al estudio y a la profesión, dedicando tiempo y haciendo las cosas bien hechas. En el ciclo de este año, pues tenemos 5 temas, todos muy diferentes. Siempre procuramos que en cada ciclo las temáticas sean diferentes. Pues vamos a hablar de las matemáticas, de la música, de historia, de temas ambientales, como es la calidad del aire de las ciudades. También solemos procurar hacer una sesión en inglés y una sesión en euskera y las otras 3 en castellano. Entonces, decir que aunque las sesiones se hagan pues, en inglés o en euskera, que nadie, yo os aconsejo que nadie deje de venir. Por ejemplo, no, es que yo no sé euskera o, bueno, no pasa nada. Yo siempre, yo en la universidad siempre a mis doctorandos y así, yo soy muy vieja, estoy hablando de hace a lo mejor 30 años en que la gente no sabía tanto inglés y tal, y decía, oye, pues una sesión inglés, estupendo, pues una lección gratis, ¿no? Y aquí en euskera pues pasaría lo mismo. Y también deciros que si hay algo que no entendáis, al ponente no le va a importar decir ese algo en castellano y no pasa nada. Y luego en las preguntas también, si alguien no quiere hacerlas en euskera o en castellano, o yo en inglés, las puedo hacer en castellano, que tampoco pasa nada, ¿vale? O sea que sentiros pues libres en ese sentido. Bien, y después de esta presentación general, pues ya vamos con la charla de hoy. A mí la ponente de hoy me hace mucha ilusión presentarla, es Amaia Zuazua. Es una joven investigadora, joven académica. Ella es arquitecta, estudió arquitectura en la Universidad de Navarra. Tiene además un máster en Ingeniería de la Edificación por una universidad de Suecia, la Mälardalen. Y tras finalizar su tesis doctoral, que fue sobre la caracterización de un sistema de refrigeración híbrido integrado en edificios que estaba inspirado en estrategias de gestión energética de animales, actualmente es profesora de la universidad e imparte clases en el grado de diseño. Que luego quizá puedas decir una palabra de qué es esto del grado de diseño. Trabaja como investigadora, tiene papers, ha participado en numerosos proyectos y bueno, pues se dedica precisamente al estudio y a la investigación que ahora está tan de moda en este caso, bueno, de la sostenibilidad, ¿no? Y en este caso, pues relacionado con los edificios sostenibles y todo esto de cómo hacer que la eficiencia energética, etcétera, de los edificios. Bueno, de esto es de lo que nos va a hablar. O sea que cuando quieras puedes comenzar. Muchas gracias, Amaya.
Muy bien. Okay, as Ithia has said, one of the lectures in this program is in English, and today we have in English. I'm going to shift to English. I hope the language is not a barrier, so if you don't understand anything, just ask me. And yes, I'm an architect. I am a lecturer in the University of Navarra, and I'm a lecturer in the degree in design. Okay, so today I came to talk about regenerative buildings. Okay, if it is a utopia or achievable reality. So we are going to talk about what is regeneration. I don't know if you have listened before that word. What is sustainability also? What is the energy efficiency of buildings? What is the current state of the energy efficiency in buildings? Also, okay, and also what is the role of technology in all this context? And of course, we are going to talk about future. Okay, so and when talking about future, we are always speculating, right? We don't know what's going to happen, so that's why we have the question, and this is going to be more a discussion than just a theoretical lecture of something, right? I'm going to make a little spoiler from the beginning. I don't have the answer, okay, for the question. So it's an open question. Nobody has the answer, okay? But I'm going to pose the necessary or some of the topics related to this question, so you can also think about it, and at least you're aware of this situation, okay? So this is going to be more or less the topics that we are going to see this afternoon. And I didn't say anything, but thank you for coming, okay? So first thing, sustainability versus regeneration. So did you listen before, regeneration? No. But did you listen before the word sustainability? Of course, yes, right? So we have sustainability everywhere. So let's go back a bit, and this is always from a building perspective, okay? But let's go back a bit, and where does it come from, okay? So when we want to define sustainability, how could you define sustainability? What would you say? Because you have listened to sustainability a lot, and that's a word that we use almost for, well, not for everything, but for a lot of things and different areas. No? Nobody? Okay. I'm not going to come up with a complex definition, okay? Let's go to the Oxford dictionary, okay? And we have two options. And the first one says that it's the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. So it's just to sustain something, right? To maintain, to keep it in a level, to keep it somewhere, like in a level balanced, okay? And the other option is the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. And the second one is a bit closer to the sustainability that we are used to listen, right? To be sustainable with nature, with ecosystems in our daily life, with transportation, okay? So that's why the second one is the one that is closer to this kind of pictures that I put here, right? When we see eco buildings or green whatever, or eco transportation, so we can move eco mobility, right? So we can when we go by bike, or when we are using electric cars or whatever. So this is the picture that we usually have, and you see that it's the avoidance of the destruction of natural resources. Okay. So keep in mind that we are always talking about sustaining and about maintaining. Okay? So if we go back, Where do we come from? Okay? So, in the 80s, the Secretary General of the United Nations, that was a Peruvian guy, Pérez de Cuellar was his surname. So he decided that, okay, we are talking about a lot of topics related to ecosystems and related to environment, but we don't have anything written down. So he asked the former Prime Minister of Norway, that was this woman, okay, Miss Brundtland, let's say. He asked her to form a group to work on these topics, to work and to focus on developmental and environmental problems and solutions in the world. It's like, we are talking about a lot of things, but please work on that and focus on this and try to be as specific as possible with the problems that we have, right? So Ms. Bruntal, he asked her to be the leader of this group because he had a very strong background in science and also in public health, okay? So they worked for some years, and in 1987, they published the report of Brundtland Commission, okay? And this report was the one that popularized the term of sustainable development, okay? And I'm pretty sure that you know this term of sustainable development. So what did they say in this report? And we are in the 80s, okay? So humanity has the ability to make development sustainable, okay? To ensure that it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this is the typical thing that we say, the future that we are going to let to our nephews and this stuff, right? So this was written for the first time, like in a worldwide context. So sustainable development is not fixed state of harmony. So it's a process of change in which the exploitation of resources, the direction of investments, that this is important, the orientation of technological development, and institutional change are made consistent with future as well as with present needs. So they are saying that, okay, we need to be sustainable now, but always thinking about the future, right? And all this context and everything that they define and they developed in the report, they said that they supported, or they said that the sustainable development needs to be or needed to be supported in three main pillars, okay? That were the economical growth, the sustainable economical growth, the social equality, and the environmental protection. So we have always economy, society, and the environment. After this report, the United Nations started also working on this way in a more organized way, and that's why, for example, we have the climate change conferences, the one that we had last week or 2 weeks ago in Glasgow. Do you know about that? The COP26? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you have seen that in the news, right? The last day, the organizer was crying and in the last speech because they didn't achieve any important agreement. So after this report, some years later, started these conferences, okay, that now we are in the 26th. Vale? And after this, they also started focusing on which one will be the main important goals for the world, like the challenges for the humanity, okay? So from the 2000 to 2015, we had these goals defined by the United Nations, okay? These Millennium Development Goals. So we have, of course, the eradication of poverty and hunger. We have also here the gender equality, for example. We have also the environmental sustainability, and so on, okay? This expired, probably you don't know about this. I barely know about this. And this expired in 2015. And what happened in 2015? That the United Nations defined again the new goals for the next 15 years, okay? And maybe this is not new for you. Is it new? You know about that, right? Okay. So this is like, okay, we didn't achieve our goals. Of course, the environmental development, as we saw before, is a process, it's a long process. It's not like you can achieve a goal just from one day to the next one. So we have these goals, and this is supposed to be the goals, these are supposed to be the goals until 2030, right? It's also connected with the Agenda 2030 that we have in Europe and well, the European Commission has. So we have, again, the poverty, zero hunger, and so on. And in this, if we go back to buildings, because I didn't come here just to talk about environment and what is the planning of the United Nations, if we go back to buildings, we can say that some of these goals are directly related to buildings. So for example, we have the affordable and clean energy. That's for sure, okay? We are now advancing a lot with renewable energy systems and resources. We have also, for example, good health and well-being. And you might say, okay, well-being and health in a building. So of course we need, for example, with the pandemic that we are having, right? Now everybody is aware of the indoor air quality that we have in our indoor spaces, right? It wasn't so important before, but now, well, it was important for researchers, but now it looks important for everyone, right? What is the air that we are breathing in the buildings? We have also life on land, that when we build cities, we are occupying spaces that are not ours, are other ecosystems from other life beings, and we are taking this land. Clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities and communities, and then we have two other goals, which are the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, which is also connected to buildings, the infrastructure, and also the consumption and production. And here we can talk about the consumption of production of both the energy that we are using in buildings and also the materials that we are using for to build the buildings and also for the production of those materials, okay? So, current state. What is the footprint of buildings, the energy footprint of buildings in the world right now? So these are the numbers from 2018. This is taken from the International Energy Agency, which is an agency that is commonly known, and it's quite famous, and we use it a lot in the research areas, and they have very important reports published every year. So they shared this last year, well, in 2019, about the year before. So we have two options. We have the energy consumption on the one side, so how much energy consume buildings, and we have also the emissions, the CO2, the carbon dioxide emissions of buildings, which is not the same. So we can see the buildings are these ones in blue. So we can see that regarding the energy consumption, buildings suppose more or less 36% of the total energy consumption in the world. And this is being lower in Europe, but this is increasing in other places in the world, right? And we have then the emissions, which are a bit higher. So usually you will read a lot, if you are interested in this topic, that buildings produce 40% of carbon emissions, of carbon dioxide emissions in the world. And it's true, it's around 40%. And that's a lot. Okay, I don't know what do you think about these numbers, but that's a lot. So buildings are in the focus of a lot of different policies, energy policies towards the reduction of these numbers, because we, the users of buildings and also the building designers, we design things and we use buildings that produce so much, that consume so much energy and that produce so much emissions that are almost the main target for some agencies, okay? So you might say, okay, Yamaya, nice, but I'm listening all the time that we have near zero energy building opens in Lezcairu, and another super passive house is built in Roncal, and another passive house is built somewhere else, and in my school we have installed a lot of photovoltaic panels and now we are almost zero, so what's going on? And that's true, we are having a lot of technological improvements, right? So for example, I brought here two random examples that are the architectonical part of them. We can discuss them as long as you want, but they are similar examples 10 years apart, okay? So this one, the Pixel building, was opened in Melbourne more than a decade ago, And it was the highlight or the news that accompanied this open was this one. The Pixel building is the first office building with non-carbon dioxide emissions and is able to generate its own energy and water. So it's true, this building is an office building and it has a rainwater harvesting system, so they can filter this water and use this water in the building. Of course, it's an office building. An office building doesn't require a lot of water, but they were able to do that. They have also small wind turbines in here, so they can produce and generate their own electricity, so that's good. And they have also this solar control system, these pixels, these panels in the facade, they can control the sun. So if it is summer and I don't need so much sun, and the sun is warming up my indoor space, so the panels can control the sun coming in. Okay, or at the contrary, if it is winter, we can let the sun in, so the sun can warm up a bit the indoor space, so I don't have so high energy or heating demand, right? So yes, that's an example, and this is another one. Okay, we can discuss for a long time carbon dioxide, like non-carbon dioxide emissions. You will see that later. And this is another example, which is from 2 years ago, and this is built in Trondheim, which is a city in the. It's not the north of Norway, but it's quite north, middle north part of Norway. Okay, so this is the world's northernmost energy positive building. So it's like, okay, we are not only making zero energy buildings, but we are making positive buildings, and that's true. We are building positive buildings. But what does this mean? For example, this has a very important photovoltaic system, okay? The roof of this building, this one, that it's black, it's everything with photovoltaic panels. So what's going on with those photovoltaic panels? And why do we say that it's energy positive? This building has a consumption request, okay? This energy has an energy demand, and it has also an energy production. So we are saying that it is positive when the total of the consumption and the total of the generation of the year has been, well, the total consumption has been overproduced, so I have an overproduction, and I'm saying that I'm positive. But you can say, okay, Amaya, this is Norway. In Norway, in June, we can have a lot of sun, okay? Because maybe we have 23 hours of sun in the north of Norway, 22 hours of sun. So I have a lot of energy production. But not only this building, anyone with a PV panel, with a photovoltaic panel in Norway, can have a lot of energy production, right? But what's going on in December? This building in December, this building needs Iberdrola, okay? This building it's not out of the network, okay? Because it's very difficult to produce so much energy just with 2 hours of sun in Norway in December, right? So when you see these kind of things, the positive buildings and the zero buildings, it's not that they are disconnected and they are autonomous, no. It's that they produce, in the yearly production, they produce more than what they need. But it doesn't mean that they are producing all the time in a real time what the needs of the building, okay? Okay, anyway, the building is very efficient, okay. So, what's going on? So we have seen energy efficient buildings and what is going on with the efficiency. So now let's see what's going on with the regeneration, okay? So this is a graph that was published by Bill Reed, that he is an architect that is very committed to ecology and to environmental areas, and he published an article that was entitled Shifting from Sustainability to Regeneration, and this one's in 2007, okay, this was a lot of years ago, and he published this diagram. So he captures in this diagram the problem of sustainability, okay? Keep in mind that the problem of sustainability, thinking in a speculative future and thinking that human beings could be could go beyond sustainability, okay? So this is the graph, and here in the graph we have some levels, okay? So these are the levels of environmental achievements. So we have in the x-axis the levels of the environmental achievement, and then we have in the y-axis the energy that is required, if I require more energy or if I require less energy. So what's going on in here? The lowest level is the conventional, okay? And what is an example of conventional building? Any building that you see, almost anyone. Almost all of the buildings that we see could be considered conventional buildings. So conventional is just one step better than breaking the law. So we have some regulations. I'm designing a building that meets the regulations and are a bit higher than the regulations, but I'm not going to be anything, I'm not going to do anything further. Okay, so that's conventional. And what is the next step? The next step is green. So it's having a relative improvement. Okay, so here could be the examples that I put before. So yeah, I'm making an effort and I'm doing something better. Okay, I'm doing an improvement. The next step would be to be sustainable, okay, which is neutral, which is 100% less bad. So this is the problem of thinking a lot of types of sustainability in the way of thinking that we are trying to make as less harm as possible instead of thinking of making a positive impact, right? I look like a detractor of sustainability, and not at all. I came by car, so it's not like that. I'm not an ecology activist or something like that. But it's something that I think that it's important to know, and it's important to share with you. Okay. So then, to be restorative would be to have humans doing things to nature. Okay. So having this positive impact. And then we have regenerative, that it's humans participating as nature, co-evolution of the whole system. So this is more thinking about system and thinking that we are an ecosystem. And we need to be autonomous as any ecosystem in nature, right? Without harming other ecosystems. Okay, so they highlight, well, he highlights, Bill Reed highlights that all practice levels are necessary to achieve the change required. Okay, so we cannot be here and suddenly in 20 years be over here. No, this is progression, and this is also about the progression that was saying in the Brundtland Commission report. Okay, everything is a progress, but we need to have a clear what could be the goal, right? So being sustainable is just being 100% less bad. And this is an example of a sustainable building. 100% less bad, like being completely balanced, it's very difficult, okay? Because we can say that we are balanced with the energy as the ones that I showed you before. But with materials, what's going on with the materials? I used a lot of concrete, the manufacturing of concrete, suppose 8% of the total global emissions, like the CO2 emissions in the world, just concrete. Okay, so it's very difficult to say that we are zero, right? We can't be zero in the energy part, but not in the whole picture. Okay, so being sustainable, I don't know, maybe an igloo is sustainable because it's zero harm, but it's not either, it doesn't have a positive impact, okay? So it's difficult to be completely sustainable. And it's not nice to have, it's not bad to have sustainability as a goal, which is where we all of us are. And I came here just to show you the next step, okay? So what is the difference here? What is the thing here? Well, we don't have any examples of regenerative buildings. That it doesn't exist. Okay, the igloo, something like that, could be the closest to regenerative buildings. So here is important this, how each part of this graph is defined, because one of the parts we see technical system design. So we think everything here as technical, okay? We are designing everything based on technology and based on the advances in technology, okay? So technologies and techniques are the basis of this, and we think about efficiency in doing things right, okay? But what is the other thinking? The other thinking is about thinking as a living system, okay? So we need to think about effectiveness and doing the right things instead of doing things right? And then thinking always as a whole systems. And this is it's important and it's very difficult because we are surrounded by a lot of systems. For example, building constructing a building it's about the connection of a lot of different systems, okay? So this goes further because this tells you that you need to be aware of the systems that are going on also in nature, okay? So it's much more complicated, but it is possible. And also, it is important in here the thing about working, well, this is in the next step, but working in multidisciplinary groups instead of working in small groups with the same background, right? If we work only architects, we will make the same architecture. If we work architects with biologists and with another environmental specialist or whatever, we will make another architecture. So they came up with this definition, which is quite complex. Okay, this is not a definition from the Oxford Dictionary, which regenerative design is a system of technologies and strategies based on an understanding of the inner working of ecosystems that generates designs to regenerate rather than deplete underlying life support systems and resources within socio-ecological wholes. So it's a complex definition. It has this concept of thinking about systems, but it is there, okay? And now a lot of people are thinking about trying to shift our minds from sustainability to regeneration. So the previous diagram was very famous, and they decided to update the diagram, and they published this second diagram 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, yeah. And just two important things that they updated in here. They started helping what could be, which one could be the next steps, okay? Okay, we are in here, okay? We are able to be here, we are not always there, but we are trying to go further. So the next step could be also biophilia. Biophilia is the relation that human needs with nature, let's say. So probably you will say that if in an office building you have plants, and you have a green area, and if you see through your window and you see the sky and the mountains and whatever, this affects your well-being, your mental well-being, and also improves your working and your productivity, right? So having this connection with nature is called biophilia. And the next step, it's the biomimetics, or biomimicry. And this is learning from nature, okay? So this is taking the lessons that we can have from nature, from all the adaptation that has been going on through years and years and years, and take those lessons to apply them in the different areas of our knowledge. That one of them could be architecture, right? And then another important thing is this, and I think that this is basic, which is the integration of human consciousness, okay? It needs to be in our minds all this picture to try to go further in each step, right? And then we have, as I said before, okay, with technology advances a lot, and with technology we can make a lot of things. And then we have these kind of things. So what do you think is this? No? Nobody? Okay. This is a building in Dubai, okay? And this is an ski station in Dubai. So you might say, okay, Amaya, if I cover all the envelope of the building with photovoltaics and I'm able to generate my own energy, what's wrong with that? And I might say, okay, maybe anything, maybe nothing is wrong. But and up to which point are we going to use technology to make whatever we want, instead of having a clear roadmap with a specific goal, right? So this is happening, and this is possible, and this could be efficient, okay? I don't know if it could be effective. Okay, so energy efficiency and circularity, and this is what I wanted to share with you, and I will finish soon. Buildings, so factors influencing the energy efficiency of buildings. So we have three main things, okay? So we have the building services, that are those systems that require some activations, Okay, so are the heating system that we have, the ventilation that we have right now here, so we can be in a comfortable level, the cooling system, the electricity, the telecommunications that we have, the internet that it's over here, the water management system. So all of them are building services, okay? And all of them require energy. And then we have the building construction itself, okay? Which is, for example, the structure of the system, the facade, the envelope of the building, right? The facades, the roofs, the partitions that we have in here, okay? And also some other decisions like the orientation of a building, if I'm looking for sun, or maybe I'm in Sevilla and I'm avoiding the sun, or if the size of the building itself, if this room would be higher or would be wider, and this kind of design decisions, and everything is in the construction level. And then we have the human factors. Okay, because I can design and I can simulate a very good building, and then if the occupancy that I have, the occupant behavior, it's not the one that I was expecting, probably all my effort, it's for nothing, right? And always we have the climate. We need to adapt to the climate of each location. So all these things are related to energy, and all these things are related to materials, okay? And we say, towards this regeneration, and not regeneration, even sustainability, that the promising technologies are those of advanced material solutions and also sustainable energy generation, okay? So we are based always the advances and all the changes that we are making in either energy or either materials. And in energy, we have seen some examples, and probably you know that we are making a lot of progress, which it's not everything done, and we are far from perfect, but we are making a lot of progress in energy. We have photovoltaic panels, okay, I can have electricity, I can recycle my water, I can make a lot of things. It's everything, it depends on money, okay? But what's going on with materials? With materials, we are making advances, but it's being much more complicated, okay? So what is and here, yeah, I forgot to say that the human consciousness here, the one that I said before, this is very important in this huge factor. So going back to materials. For example, if I want to make a house out of the network, that I say, Amaya, okay, I'm gonna be super sustainable, I'm going to the mountain, I'm going to build a house, I'm gonna put some photovoltaics, and I'm gonna have my own water from the river, and that's it. And I say, okay, and how are you going to build your house? With bricks. And where do they come from? Okay, so this brick has a manufacturing process that it's already emitting a lot of carbon dioxide, for example. And what's going on after you leave the house, after the demolition, what's going on with the bricks, right? So you are not being a positive impact completely, right? So material circularity, and this is something that this circular thing, not only for materials, but also for economy and for design and for a lot of topics, the circularity is a trend right now. And it's about trying to shift from a service life to this, okay, to a cycle, to life cycle, okay? So for example, with our materials, as I said, we are building our materials, we have the construction and installation on the building site. We use them for years, and after the demolition, that's what we need to think about, what's going on after the demolition, okay? And also in the manufacturing progress. Okay, either it is recycled, or either is recycling disposal material. So this is connected to this concept of life cycle assessment, okay? And this is the methodology for assessing environmental impacts associated with the stages of the life cycle of a product, service, whatever, okay? So this is important, and this is where we are lacking a lot of information and a lot of advances right now, also in the energy field. But here, I think it's been much more complicated. So to conclude, the first thing I want to highlight again the importance of the human consciousness. Okay, so that's why I wanted to talk about this today. Yeah, question over there. The life cycle assessment. Okay, I'm gonna repeat it. Yeah, I went a bit fast maybe. So here, yeah, what the life cycle assessment is just a methodology that measures how this works. Okay, how this circle works. So when you are making a life cycle assessment is evaluation. So when you are making an evaluation of a brick, for example, you are measuring what's going on with a brick in each step, okay? So for example, if the footprint of a brick is very high right now, and there are, for example, projects, for researchers are making projects of what to make when you demolish a house, what can we make with those bricks, okay? So you can say, okay, I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna grind them, and with this dust, I'm gonna produce something else, okay? Or I'm gonna take them and cut them, and I'm gonna make new bricks for other application, okay? So we are having now studies about that. But the life cycle assessment basically is the method of measuring what's going on with each material. So the effort is that of closing the loop. Either closing the loop, or either when this is a disposal, when this goes out from the loop, it enters another circular loop, okay? So it's either upcycling, like it's either closing that loop, or the term of upcycling, that it's going up to another cycle, okay? So, okay, in this area I cannot use it anymore, but it enters another cycle. So that's the effort that it's being made right now. Clear? Okay. So as I was saying, the importance of the human consciousness, okay? And then, from a technological perspective, an important advance it's made, and it will continue be making, and we will continue advancing with technology. But if we go back to the Brundtland Commission, they highlight also the importance of having this direction, the good direction of the technology, of the use of technology, okay? So where are we going with all this technology? If everything is possible, but everything should be doable, okay? And then, and this is also very important, keep in mind worldwide situation and differences, because the population continues growing. So what is the problem here? That in Europe we are living in kind of bubble in this kind of topics, okay, about sustainability, about regeneration, and we can talk about this. But this is what is going on in the world. So, of course, our population is increasing, right? And it continues increasing. This is 2018, continues increasing. And so is the floor area, and we mean floor area, the buildings, okay? We need more buildings. And the developing countries are developing, so they need more space, and they need more houses, and they need more buildings and everything. So this is increasing, and so is increasing the emissions and also the energy, that it looks that it's a bit stopped over there, but we had a period of leveling the emissions, but then the emissions continue increasing. And that's because the world is not Europe, and we have places like this that we cannot start talking about technology, about energy efficiency, about regeneration. It's not a topic like, it doesn't fit at all the real situation, the daily life there, right? So we need to keep in mind this. And I wanted to share also this picture, because when I saw that, I don't know if it is scientifically true, but I guess that it's close to be true, because it says that there are more people living inside this circle than outside of it. And in that circle we have India, we have China, we have Indonesia, we have the Philippines, we have Japan, maybe we have part of Russia. We have a lot of countries with very high population. So we are a lot of times, as I said before, in our European bubble, which is okay, I guess. But we need to keep in mind from time to time that the reality is this one, and the reality is this one as well. So if we don't solve this, we can advance in technology as much as we want, but we need to be aware that still we have these problems. Because all this problem of sustainability is a worldwide situation, okay? It's not just me in my house. I can start with me in my house, but keeping in mind all of this, right? And then I wanted to introduce, and this is just for the end, the term of resiliency, okay? So resiliency is the capacity to recover from difficulties. Resiliency is used a lot of times when we have climate emergencies and when we have some ecological destructions, let's say, or emergencies, or for example in La Palma with the volcano, right? What is the ability of the population in La Palma to recover their daily life, right? To recover the life that they were having before. And this is important because facing this and trying to solve resiliency, the capacity to be resilient, because this is also important for people in India and for people in places that they have, for example, hurricanes, right? So trying to solve or trying to be as resilient as possible, maybe we can be more aware of the possibilities of learning from nature, okay? Because when there is a fire in a forest, of course, everything dies or whatever, but the ecosystem is ready for the fire. I mean, if it's not provoked, but fires are a natural thing as well. When they are natural, the ecosystems are ready for that, and they continue, okay? It's the same as with the volcano. The volcano that happened in El Hierro some years ago, it's already, the ecosystem is formed again in the under the water, right? So learning from nature how to face these emergencies and how to be more resilient, maybe it's an opportunity to try to be not more regenerative, but maybe more sustainable as well, okay? To try to adapt those strategies to this area. And then to finish, just this last word, this last phrase that says that for some agencies, buildings and construction sectors should be a primary target for greenhouse gas emissions mitigation efforts. So going back to what we saw before, this 40% of emission worldwide, this is a huge thing, okay? Because this is just buildings, and we are more than transportation, we are more than industry, so it's an important factor. So buildings are on being the target for this kind of decisions. And I say buildings, but it's all of us, because all of us use buildings all the time, right? So that's it. Thank you very much for listening to me. And now, questions.
Yes, questions.
Que no os corte el inglés tampoco.
I think you said that there aren't any examples of these buildings nowadays, but I wanted to know if there's any specific projects or governments or something that's trying to build these places.
Yes. Yes. Well, more than, there are projects, but they are not real. They are still on the paper. For example, there is a famous architect that it's called Michael Paulin. He is an expert on biomimetics, biomimicry, like learning from nature and trying to take those strategies in nature into the building design. And he's trying to make, well, he is making like the perfect office building, like based on strategies of different animals and plants. He is designing an office building that should be more than sustainable, okay? What is the problem? That the building doesn't exist. They are all strategies on the paper and they look nice, but nobody built that building. We have some other examples related also with nature. For example, there is another building in Zimbabwe, which is a mall, an office building, and also a shop center, I don't know. And this one, for example, is called the Eastgate Center, if you want to check it. And this one is the strategies that were applied in this building, that was built also by another architect that used strategies in nature to try to implement them in buildings. So he designed a complex ventilation system that reduces the energy consumption of the building more than 90%, just with the ventilation system that he designed, based on the termites molds, the termitas. Okay, so the termites, they build complex buildings, let's say, with a lot of duct system for the ventilation of the inside of the termite. So So taking those strategies, he built this building, and the building exists from the late 90s, I think. Yeah, so we have some small examples. We have a lot of examples using technology. When I say technology, I say any renewable energy source system like photovoltaic panels or things like that, or geothermal energy, for example, like taking the heat from the earth, so I can reduce the energy consumption in my building. So these kind of things, we have examples. Yeah, but
Okay, and what about like the building you showed in Melbourne is not regenerative, it's just restorative or sustainable?
Sustainable,
Okay.
green, eco.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's nice because it should be. I mean, when I say that we have examples of green buildings, we have them, but they are not common right now. I mean, we are still building buildings that are conventional, are just filling the requirements from the regulation. Like we have the Spanish regulation code, I'm going with that, and that's it, and it's okay. But that's the common thing. So still the common thing in Europe is being conventional. Okay?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
¿Alguna pregunta? ¿No? Aunque sea general, tenéis alguna señora arquitecta, si queréis algo que tampoco.
De otra cosa.
El grado de diseño, ¿vino usted eso grado
de diseño?
Amaya?
Sí, no sé si alguno de vosotros igual está interesado. Entonces, no sé si sabéis, en la Escuela de Arquitectura de Pamplona, bueno, cambió a castellano. En la Escuela de Arquitectura de Pamplona tenemos el grado en arquitectura, en estudios de arquitectura, y el grado de diseño, que es un grado más joven, que lleva menos años. Entonces, el grado de diseño, que es un grado generalista, pues por ejemplo vemos cosas como, hay asignaturas como Circular Design, y ver cómo todo lo que diseñamos pues afecta de una forma circular, cómo utilizar residuos. Tenemos muchos proyectos relacionados con la gestión de residuos y eso. Entonces, en el grado de diseño estamos formando diseñadores, bueno, en 3 ámbitos sobre todo, que es en producto, en moda o en servicio, pero todos ellos, por ejemplo, con este conocimiento pues dentro de nuestras asignaturas, ¿no? Por lo menos con este awareness en la formación que reciben.
El problema de todo esto, la sostenibilidad,
Sí.
todo esto, es que claro, es mucho más caro, ¿no?
Eso
o sea,
es.
Construir según estos
Eso
nuevos
es.
parámetros es mucho más caro.
Eso es.
Entonces,
Ese es el gran problema siempre. Es como la moda. La industria textil es la segunda industria que más contamina en el mundo después de la del petróleo. Y entonces, ¿qué pasa? Que pues Primark no es sostenible. Ya, pues ¿qué es sostenible? Las marcas de lujo son sostenibles, porque las marcas de lujo se fabrican en Europa, se fabrican en Madrid, se fabrican en Portugal, y pues eso es más sostenible. ¿Qué pasa? Que pues son precios más altos, ¿no? Entonces, el problema de ser sostenible es que es caro. Es muy caro. En edificios, en moda y en general. En las pechugas de pollo y en todo, sí.
muy bien. Bueno, pues ninguna curiosidad más.
Tan impactados os habéis quedado.
Pero os ha gustado la charla, ¿no? Venga, pues un gran aplauso y ya nos vamos. Pues nada, hasta la próxima sesión. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, es que ricasco.
Agur, agur.